Roland Martin has been the most unapologetically black voice in media for the last 2 decades. From newspapers to radio to television, Martin has given an unvarnished truth as the newsman and a political commentator to Americans. Now he's telling that truth in a new book called White Fear: How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Mind. It is co-written by Leah Lankins. In it, he argues that white fear has shaped American democracy since the first pilgrims landed on this continent. And joining me now to talk all about it is Roland Martin himself. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, thank you. So, in recent years, and a number of books about race and politics have come out. Talk to me about why you chose to write this one and what you hope the overall takeaway will be from the book.
Well, it's simple. If you look at what has happened, I've been talking about this issue the last 13 years, and really it was the election of President Barack Obama that put this thing front and center, and that is there was a study that was done in 2009, a poll that was done that asked the question, are you optimistic about the future of America for your children? Well, every group except white America's majority said yes. September 2016, the poll was asked, are you optimistic about the future of America economically for the next 10 years? Guess what? Black people, lowest wealth, highest optimism. Latinos, second lowest wealth, second highest optimism. White Americans, highest wealth, lowest optimism. So you have to ask the next question, okay? Why? What's going on here? And so what you're seeing, the attacks on critical race theory, when you see the attacks on diversity, equity, inclusion, on the 1619 Project, on multiculturalism, it is because white Americans, everything in America has been dominated through a white prism. Now they're having to share not only space, but share power, share resources. And when you study American history, this has always been the fear. We're going to be losing something because they're now getting it. Well, here's the reality. The white birth rate is lower than the white death rate. Excuse me. So the white death rate is higher than the white birth rate. And so the numbers don't lie. We are going to be a nation majority, people of color by 2043, and they don't want to have to give that power up. And power also means resources.
You know, there feels like there has been a backlash every time there's a black political power that is exercised to win like a key race. How can we combat those efforts, suppress our vote and political power? Go ahead.
It goes deeper. It goes deeper than just suppressing the vote, because remember, when you talk about suppressing the vote, you're also talking about the money. You cannot talk about America unless you talk about the money. So now you have a large number of Republicans who believe that discrimination against white Americans is even greater than that of African Americans. You've got white men in Hollywood complaining, oh, my God, it's hard for us to get a job. When you go, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Y'all have been dominating this for centuries. And now all of a sudden you're seeing African Americans, Latinos and women showing up. And now folks are getting all scared. Well, guess what? Suck it up. It's going to change. And so when I talk about white fear, it is the holding on to that power. It is now taking your ideology and saying, no, we're going to try to put these things in place. So when voting comes in, they want to be able to control the judges, want to control the political process. That's why now what Republicans are trying to do is really, how do you create a situation where the minority gets to control the power of the majority? What I fear is for us being like South Africa, where you have black folks who are in the majority, but white folks in South Africa still control the resources, still control the land, which is the power. And so we need to be preparing ourselves educationally. I need white folks, conscious white folks, to be having conversations with their friends and their colleagues and church members and fraternity brothers and sorority sisters, because they are the ones that they are, the future Jane Elliott's, the future Tim Wise's, the anti-racists who can challenge them on their bigotry, because this ain't going away. We must fortify African Americans. This is going to be a fight for the next 50 to 100 years, because they've had the power and the control. They ain't trying to give it up easy.
You know, speaking of power and control and not giving it up, the midterm elections are coming up. There are a number of black candidates and races that could make or break the Democratic hold in the Senate. I'm talking races in Georgia, Wisconsin, Florida. I want to know, Roland, which candidate you think has the best chance of winning in those states? Raphael Warnock, Mandela Barnes, Val Demings. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first you got to actually expand that, because you're talking about Warnock is an incumbent in Georgia. Democrats are trying to hold on to their incumbent positions in Arizona in Nevada, in New Hampshire, in Colorado. So right now it's 50-50. So they got to hold on to those existing seats. Now when you're talking about expanding the map, now you're talking about, yes, Barnes in Wisconsin, Fetterman in Pennsylvania, Beasley in North Carolina, Demings in Florida. And then, of course, you got Tim Ryan, who's in Ohio. That's what Democrats see as their best 5 pickups. And they really see 3 pickups. They really see Pennsylvania. They really see Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, as well as North Carolina. But the thing that we got to understand, though, is how do we maximize our power? Sherry Beasley, when she ran for Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court in 2020, she lost by 400 votes. 400 votes. And so Democrats could have had a 6-1 majority on the state Supreme Court of North Carolina. It shrunk to a 4-3 majority. And so this is where, again, where I talk about how do we take advantage of this moment. We cannot be in a situation in Louisiana where you have African Americans turning out in the largest place, 36% turnout. Mm-hmm. Not when we make up almost a third of that particular state. And so you look at Broward County, look at Miami-Dade County. When Andrew Gilliam lost by 30,000 votes to Ron DeSantis 4 years ago, guess what? The Republicans were turning out 70+%, 65% in their counties. Broward was at 57. You ain't going to win at 57. And so I need for our folks to understand that, well, there's trepidation. We didn't get this. We didn't get that. Here's the deal. Somebody's going to win. And likely, if they are on the Republican side, they are not going to be advancing the issues that we care about. And so if we maximize our turnout, if you start seeing Black turnout, 70-75% of our eligible voters, we could be determining elections. And then when you determine the elections, you control the politics, and now you control the money. It always gets back to the money.
It always gets back to the money. While I have you here, I have to ask, why is the race in Georgia between Herschel Walker and Senator Raphael Warnock, why is that so close? The polls show that they are just neck and neck. Why is that?
Easy. Georgia's still a red state. I mean, look, yes, Biden-Harris won, but it was not by a large margin. You saw the kind of turnout in 2020. Republicans are also enthused, and that is they're pissed off because they lost. They begin to change the laws. And so they don't care that Herschel Walker is an idiot and dumb and can barely talk. They want to control power. And so President Biden's approval rating in Georgia is around 37%. A lot of people are dissatisfied with him there. And so you don't have the same turnout with Democrats. Look, right now, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll shows Warnock with getting 77% of the Black vote. That ain't going to cut it. He has to be able to get around 90%. And so African Americans in Georgia have to be maximizing the opportunity. That's why it's this close. Also, according to the AJC poll, 20% of independents have made up their mind. I don't know what the hell they doing, because it's not like, to me, it's that hard of a choice between Herschel Walker and Warnock, which is why Herschel Walker does not want to debate. And so I think you're going to see these things shift. And so I do believe Warnock will win. It's going to be a very narrow majority, but it comes down to turnout. And if Black folks sit at home, if Black men sit at home, if young Black women sit at home, then guess what? Herschel Walker may be your next United States Senator, and you can't say a damn thing about that for the next 6 years. And so I would advise people, don't slip up and have an attitude about, well, I don't see this, I don't see that. Whoever wins is your U.S. Senator for the next 6 years. Take advantage of the moment. And that is do what's necessary for Warnock, because he is head and shoulders above Herschel Walker. It's not even close.
Not even close. Really quick, let's talk a minute about the president. You brought up his approval numbers. I know in July they hit a record low, but they have jumped in the last month. Why do you think that is, and where does he stand now with African Americans?
Well, remember, the numbers have jumped nationally, but remember, we don't have a national election in November. You have state-by-state elections. And so the U.S. Senate races are state races. These congressional races, the map right now shows that Republicans likely going to take control of the House. And so congressional races are congressional districts of 700,000 people. And so it's how they feel about him in there. It has improved. There have been some legislative wins, but the White House has not, as far as I'm concerned, I've been saying this for the last year and a half, been properly, really laying out those wins, explaining how this impacts people on a daily basis. Inflation is still a fundamental issue. Today, the rate hike the interest rates hike were raised by the Federal Reserve to try to keep inflation down. That is still an issue. Grocery prices going up. We also had the gas prices that went down for 99 consecutive days. Now that actually has stopped short of 100 days. So the question now is, are you going to see that go up? And so those are real fundamental issues that people see every day when they go to the grocery store, when they see the price of milk, when they see fruits, when they see vegetables, when they see meat go up, see gas go up. People go, oh, my God, that's more money out of my pocket. And so we have to understand how that impacts the psyche of people. And so the White House has to be far more aggressive in explaining to folks, this is where we are. And remember, in 2016 and 2020, all we heard was white economic anxiety. No, that wasn't all economic anxiety. I would say the folks who are the brokers should be more concerned about what's happening with economics, and that is folks who look like us. But again, we are seeing this totally different. But this also comes down to enthusiasm. Which side has far more enthusiasm comes to the election? Republicans are higher, which means Democrats and progressives have got to match their enthusiasm, or they're going to risk losing the House, losing the Senate. And when you lose the Senate, you lose who picks judges, you lose legislative power, and that puts them on a collision course to potentially lose the White House in 2024. And that is an absolute scary thought for Black folks.
Yeah, it sure definitely is. Roland, thank you so much for being here. Let everyone know where they can purchase the book.
Of course, White Fear, all bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble bookstores, Books A Million, Target, but also we're on Audible. But if you also want to support, if you also want to believe in Black economics, the Black collective, order the book from a Black bookstore. Help them out as well in being able to order the book. And so we have all the details at rolandsmartin.com/white fear. But understand, this thing is real and it's not going away. We better be prepared for the battle because, trust me, white folks have controlled this country from the beginning. They're not trying to give it up easily.
White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. It is out now. Roland, thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.